for this Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. I am your host, Russ Williams. I'm so glad you could be here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm quite aware you could have been anywhere in this world today. I know you could have been anywhere in this world today, but you decided to be here with me. And I appreciate that. And more importantly, I appreciate you. So welcome to Transition Tuesdays on this first day of June here in New York City. We have a action-packed show as usual. I have a special guest on the line. We're going to talk to this person soon. But before we do that, I like to state my intentions for the show. And that really doesn't change from show to show. But my intentions is to give you the opportunity to laugh, smile, think, and engage in honest conversations about your life transition. So that's what we do here on Transition Tuesday. So speaking of honest conversation, special guest, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Yeah. Special guest is on the line. Okay, guys, so I'm going to read the bio of my special guest, so bear with me here. So now my special guest is a small business owner in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. He's running for mayor of Brooklyn Park because he believes that diversity is one of the biggest strengths in Brooklyn Park, and that he will strive tirelessly to create a Brooklyn Park, Minnesota that rises above its differences, and he is willing to work for the common good for all people. So, ladies and gentlemen, Transition Army, please help me welcome Mr. No, let me do this. Hold on. Let's do this. Let me do this correctly, the right way. Please help me welcome the new mayor of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, Mr. Hollies Winston, to Transition Tuesdays. Hollies, how are you, son? Let me get you some applause here. Hold on.
Thank you, brother.
You are quite welcome, my man. I didn't want to butcher that, and I'm putting that out there in the universe. You will be the new mayor. You will be that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you inviting me on the show, so thank you.
No problem. Not a problem. We got Peter joining us as well. Peter is the fundraising director for Hollies, so Peter's checking in with us. Oh, great. And we also got Keisha from the D. What up, though, joining us. So we get them from every angle there, Hollies, every angle to hear you speak, man, about your candidacy. So, I'm really excited to have you on board here. So, like I do with all my guests, Hollies, how are you and your family coping with these three pandemics we're currently going through? You have COVID, you have the economy, and you have social injustice for Black and brown people. So how are you and your family dealing with these three pandemics right now?
Yeah, it's it hasn't been easy. I mean, in some ways, it's allowed us to kind of focus more on ourselves. So I think, I've lost maybe 30, 35 pounds just because we've been eating at home more, working out, focusing on health. But the kids are kind of going a little stir crazy. I mean, we're kind of an introverted family, but I think even them, they want to get out, they want to do stuff with their friends. So,
right.
My son's getting the vaccination tonight. My daughter's got the vaccination, so
great.
We're gonna start having them get out a little bit more.
Okay.
But we spend a lot of time together. And then as far as the social justice component, I mean, I'm already, running for office. Mm-hmm. So I don't think, people probably don't know because they're not in Minnesota, but, we had I call it the killing of Dante Wright, but in a city right next to mine called Brooklyn Center, mm-hmm. which is also majority minority. There was a brother that was killed, and basically the police officer is saying, she pulled out her gun instead of her taser, right?
Right.
My question is, why do the mistakes always happen with us? But regardless, when that happened, we went out and we helped in the community. We helped with some groceries and bought some food for people because all the commotion that happened, I think people forget sometimes that where the commotion happened, people live there, right? Mm-hmm. So they had to move from their apartments. Stores were kind of shut down or burnt out, so we had a huge food drive. We helped with that. We helped board up some of the restaurants. Some of the stores to make sure that they wouldn't get hit.
Uh-huh.
So we've been actively involved on that angle. I know there was a second part you said, man. I forgot. But
the economy too. Yep. No, it's okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
The economy has been for us. you know, and I want people to know I've been through some tough times myself, but I have a business, you know, where I advocate for people and I help small businesses and businesses, primarily businesses of color, and because the government, you know, kind of released some of that, you know, the COVID-19 funding to get through it, we were able to get some of that, and then we were able to kind of secure some contracts. So we've actually done better during this. But I know a ton of people have had the opposite, and I want to tell people I've been there, but I also want to tell people, like, if you can start your own business, you know, the United States is very much a business-centered economy.
Sure.
And so they cater to those folks when things happen. So even if it's just something small on the side, right, that brings you some money, have that, because really that's what the country is, you know, really about. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, question for you, Hollis. Now, is Brooklyn Center close to Brooklyn Park?
They're our neighbor.
Okay, that's the neighbor. Gotcha.
So
okay.
We used to be one city. And then we broke off, right? But they're our neighbor. We're about twice their size, so they're about 40,000. We're about 85,000, right?
Okay.
So, but they're right next door. So some of the businesses got hit in Brooklyn Center, but people crossed the border and they hit some of the, you know, hair shops and liquor stores and other stuff in Brooklyn Park. So we are right up the street.
Okay, man. I'm wondering too now. You know. There's a famous Brooklyn here in New York. So I wonder, why is it like, you know, you have your Brooklyn Park, your Brooklyn Center. I wonder why is that derived from New York or something like that? Maybe the settlers came over from New York.
We can't get away from people in New York, man.
Right.
But the original founders immigrated here, I think, from. So originally, I think they stopped in New York, and some of them actually, I think they went to Michigan, and then they founded Brooklyn in Michigan.
Okay.
Someplace, and then some of them broke off and came here, but they wanted to still keep that kind of those Brooklyn roots.
Okay.
So I think that's largely where the names come from. And Brooklyn Park, you know, my city, we're known for, we have a park within walking distance of pretty much anywhere people live. It's created some problems in terms of having a downtown, but in other ways it's nice because we have parks all over the city.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, thank you for the history lesson, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, because I was always wondering about that, but thank you for breaking that down. So, Hollis, man, I got to ask you the question, man. Probably everybody wants to know, like, why do you want to be mayor of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota?
You know, it would be easier for me to do like a state rep. Or senator, because I'm gonna get a little bit into the details here, but you know, when you run for those roles, state senate, state house, or just federal level senate or rep, they put your party on there, right? And so, depending on where you live, people just go to the voting booth. They're like, most people are like, oh, he's a Democrat, check, or he's a Republican, check. But at the city level, they don't do that, right? So it actually would have been easier for me to do something else, but I think, you know, given my history, so I'm part of I'm a descendant of the Black diaspora. When you talk about, you know, my grandparents were from Mississippi and Arkansas. They moved to Chicago with all the stuff that came with Chicago. They were able to make good. They started some businesses. They had day jobs, and they were able to give my parents some opportunities. And then, you know, my parents passed those opportunities to me. But I was always taught, and I always remember that, you know, if my parents had just zigged a different way, or a police officer had felt a little bit different about my dad at 12, I'm not here.
You're not
here.
I'm
in a very different situation. And when you talk about the issues that can make that type of difference in somebody's life, that's at the city level, right? So that's when you're talking about, you know, the police department. You're talking about, you know, how we can support or zone for small businesses. A lot of those things that affect people at that real local level, the stuff that people are, you know, when people go out and they have, you know, they get angry because another brother was shot or another sister was shot, right? That's policy that's often at the local level. And so that's what motivates me is I get excited because we are 56% people of color, 30% of that is African heritage, right?
Wow.
And so African immigrant heritage, and then African American, and then about 15% is Hmong.
Okay.
And, you know, and then Latino, and then and then the remainder is kind of, you know, traditional white. And I get excited about seeing a black kid who, you know, necessarily feel like they have opportunities, and being able to say to them, hey, I'm the mayor, and you can do whatever you want, and I'm going to point you in the direction of some resources so you can live your dream or do what you want to do. And I get excited for that for all kids, regardless, of race. But I think that sometimes our children feel like, just being at the top of the food chain just isn't for them. Right. And I want to show a kid people probably think of Minnesota as like Little House on the Prairie.
Yes.
George Floyd should have taught y'all that is not the case.
Right.
But we have some huge apartment complexes out here, and we got our crime, and we got folks who are dealing with all the stuff that comes with that. And just to be able to be the mayor and talk to folks and say, if you're gonna do what you're gonna do that, but take care of your community, take care of where you live. Yeah. Right? You have every right to do that, right? And you can make this the way you want it, and I'll support you in doing that, but you gotta work with me. Right? So I think that's always appealed to me more than being like a senator or a representative or something like that. It's being at that mayoral level and just being able to talk to people at that real local level.
Right. Yeah. Being that role model that, our communities crave, and like you being on the forefront of that. Hollis, did you like decide to like jump in the arena? Like, did you have a political background in the past, or did the George Floyd, the events, what happened in Minnesota, did that cause you to possibly, run for mayor? What were your thoughts on that?
No, man, I've always been I went to college for political science, and then thought I wanted to be a lawyer, went a different direction. Then I became a business person and did corporate, and I had kids, when I was younger. You're not too young, like 23, 24.
Well, you look 24 right now, Hollis,
Thank you, brother. But I had them. I'm 42 actually, but I had them, and I had to provide for them, and so I went to that business background. But after I went back and got my MBA, some friends of mine asked me to get involved with the African American DFL caucus, and for those who don't know, the DFL stands for Democrat Farm Labor. That's our version of Democrats in Minnesota. Okay. So they asked me to get involved with this, and so I got involved and got African American youth involved, raised money, helped. We have a black mayor, St. Paul, which is our state capital. Helped him get elected, and so I began to meet all these different electeds and see the issues they dealt with, and then I realized that the capital were not really well represented. So I helped people behind closed doors for a long time, and then I said, well, maybe I can bring some of my business skills and my particular background, and I can help in Brooklyn Park, right? So that was kind of the whole progression.
Okay. Very nice, very nice. We got Leah joining us. What's going on, Leah? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Thank you for checking in. And if you just joined us, guys, we got Hollies Winston joining us. He is the candidate. I'm already dubbing him. He's going to win as mayor, of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. But that's just me. I'm just putting it out there in the universe, and that's what we're going to do here. That's what we're going to do.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. Hey, so Hollis, what do you see as the most important issues facing Brooklyn Park, and how are you equipped to handle them?
Yeah, I would say we have a budget issue, right? And about 67% of our budget is taken up by public safety, which is comprised of police and fire, right? And so we do have some issues with crime and folks in the community of all race, religion, creed, whatever, who just feel unsafe in certain areas. So we can't cut back on the public safety. Okay. So we have to kind of grow our budget. And what that means is, because right now the budget is pretty much solely on the backs of people who own homes, or I think a lot of renters don't know this, is if you're renting, the person who owns that property that you're renting, they got to pay property taxes, right? So they just they're going to pass that cost along to you. So the people who live here are taking most of the vast majority of that burden on. So we need to bring more businesses. Okay. And we need to increase the ability for us to afford the things that we want to afford, whether it's parks, whether it's youth programs. So that means investing in more businesses. I think that's big. But I also think we need to invest more in terms of community policing, right? So that means, the police getting out the car, interacting with the community, understanding what the community is dealing with. If they know a family has a mental health, has someone who's dealing with a mental health issue, they know that. So if something pops off, right, and they get called to that house, they can say, well, we know what's happening at this house. We're going to grab a mental health resource so that they can come and help us de-escalate the situation.
Absolutely, yeah. Very important.
We also need to double down into diversity. We're 56% people of color. The police department needs to look that way, right? And so how do we attract police officers that look like our community, and how do we get them to stay here, right? And so we've got to be more creative in doing that, so that, over time, that helps us push crime down, keep the community safer, but then also have the community more involved. And one other thing is, you gotta remove this thing of the police seeming like an occupying force in certain neighborhoods. They won't see themselves that way. People who have a vested interest in the whole blue line thing, right? Blue Lives Matter, they won't see it that way. But the reality is, if a police officer is going to be in a school as a, SRO or as a resource officer, whatever, right? They should be plain clothes. You don't need to be in there in a police uniform where half the kids of color have been traumatized because they've heard or seen something.
Yes.
And then when they go to stuff in the community, they should also, unless they're on patrol, they can come to a barbecue. They can come to certain events, and they can be in plain clothes and just get to know the community, get to know who's who, right? Who's the matriarch in the family in a specific apartment complex? Who has the overall say? Who's the key person that kind of runs things in this apartment, right? If you don't know that, when you show up, you're ready to escalate. When you begin to know people at that level, you kind of know innately, this is how I'm going to de-escalate the situation, right? And then last thing I say is, we've got to change how, with community policing, how we grade officers. So, we need to find a way to say, look, if you're great at de-escalating, this is how we're going to reward you as a police officer. So we've got to change that, and that starts with, I'll say the last thing, that starts with leadership. So when you look at George Floyd, all of the U.S. and probably the world was happy when Derek, when Officer Chauvin was convicted, right?
Yeah.
But that only happened because our Attorney General is a brother named Keith Ellison.
Yeah.
Right. If you look at what happened with Breonna in Kentucky, and the brother they had in office there, he had no leadership. In fact, he was corrupt.
Yes.
Right. So, but you had Keith Ellison who said, I don't even need to argue this case. I don't care for the spotlight. I'm going to put the dream team of lawyers in this role, and they're going to get this guy convicted. So I say that to say, it's not just about all these policy things. It's also very much about having leaders in the right situations who make the right moves, so that we can get the right policies.
Right. Understood. And I feel, and people hearing you, I think that leadership is well proven by what you're saying on that as well. So we got Peter. Peter may had a question. Peter says, what is the demographic background of Brooklyn Park?
So it's about 56% PLC, so 30% African heritage, African American, and of that African heritage / immigrant, of that is mostly West African / Liberian, and then around 14 to 16% is Southeast Asian, many Hmong, so they primarily came over here from Vietnam and the Lao area. Okay. And then some Latino and other, and then the remaining, and then 44% is kind of folks who white folks, folks who grew up in Brooklyn Park. Right. We do have some socioeconomic differences. So below 85th is kind of older Brooklyn Park, and it's kind of more working class. 85th to 93rd was built a little bit later. So there's some bigger houses or townhouses, there's some luxury apartments, and then above 610 you have some luxury apartments, and then you have some homes that are it's not expensive for New York, but it's like for Minnesota, they're maybe $400,000 or $500,000, $600,000 homes, which I'm assuming in certain parts of New York would be $2-3 million.
Yes.
So but that's kind of what we got. Out here. So
okay, understood. And also, Peter he just posted a link to donate to your campaign because donations are prevalent and stuff like that. So how's that going in terms of donations for you there? Because it takes money to run these, to run a campaign and everything. So how's that going for you so far in terms of the donation route?
Yeah, so we had a goal of about 60K. We're probably at 45 or 50. But we realized that we're gonna have to overcome just kind of some of the traditional fears and a little bit of racism and all that. So we realized we're gonna have to go more towards 80K for it. So we're in the process of raising that, but we could use all the help I can get. And when I talk to folks that don't live in Brooklyn Park, I kind of want to tell them that you may not know Minnesota, but this, kind of how Minnesota is built is very much how the country is in terms of Minnesota is a very wealthy state. We're one of wealthiest states in the union for our size. We have when you talk about Fortune 500s, which are the companies that generate the majority of this wealth, right? We've probably got, let's just do basic math. If you have 50 states, 500 Fortune 500s, you should really have only 10 per state, right? Minnesota probably has 14 or 15, and then if you think of states like Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, they ain't gonna have but a few, right? But New York and Cali and Houston are gonna be overrepresented. So if you think of us as a state that has, 14 to 16, maybe more Fortune 500s, we have an incredible amount of wealth, but we also have the biggest disparity between white folks and people of color. Right? Okay. So we have the biggest disparity in the country, and black folks here are less likely to buy homes than almost anywhere else. Many of us have been locked out of kind of how getting into corporate America, right?
Right.
And so that's very much the story of America, is where you have extreme wealth, but then you have, African Americans and some people of color who basically have no idea how to get into that network, or frankly, they have just been locked out.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have the same segregation in terms of, who owns homes, who's renting, the size of the homes, right? Incarceration rates, are the disparities between white folks being incarcerated and black folks is huge in Minnesota. So, all the wealth is here, but black folks are still struggling. Like we're not from here, right? And so to me, that's the story of our country in many ways. And to me, that's why this is such an important race, because where Brooklyn Park is going, it's kind of where a lot of the country is going. So if we can show people we can get ahead of these issues and connect, black and brown babies to union apprenticeships, connect them to corporations and great jobs, and build a pipeline for them to get these jobs. If we can create a police department where youth feel comfortable just being themselves, right? And the police are willing to help walk them away from certain issues.
Right.
We can show the rest of the country, like, this is where you guys are headed, but this is how you do it.
This is how you do it. Yeah, absolutely. And you have that business acumen, like, being a small business owner, so you come with that to the table, which a lot of people can really lean on that as well. So, Hollis, man, you touched on it earlier, but, how is the mayoral election in Brooklyn Park important to those who do not live in Brooklyn Park? So why is it important to those like a person like myself who lives here in New York?
Yeah, I'll give you two reasons. I'll say one, this is where much of the country is going, right? And so you want to invest in a place, help them get it right, so that the rest of the country can kind of look and say, we got a model for how to do this correctly, and we're going to learn from that, right? And we're going to replicate that. So I think that's enough. That's one. I think also, if you are, well, I'll give two more reasons. If you're African American, right? Maybe you live in, maybe you live in a big city where there's a ton of African Americans, and you care about Black Lives Matter, right? Well, we've always been one community. We might be spread out across the country, but we got one community, right?
Right.
And so where you struggle in New York, and you think, well, they ain't struggling like this in Minnesota or Milwaukee or Iowa. The reality is, when you have sizable portions of black folks in really, really, non-diverse states. Let's put it that way, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
They catch hell because they don't even have the numbers, right, to really push back the way they want to push back. So when they do things politically, they have to be more organized, more strategic, and it's just really hard when you're 5% or 4% of the population. So I would say, if you really care about your community, remember the folks in Milwaukee, the folks in Iowa, the folks in Minnesota, right? Those pockets of people, remember that they're catching it too.
Yeah.
And if you support their causes, you help them out. And then I'd also just say, if you believe in doing the right thing, as a progressive or as a Democrat or somebody who just wants to see people do well, I would say I'm trying to bring a level of politics, a type of politics that says, I'm not interested in playing a victim. I'm not a victim. I'm not going to let you make me a victim. I'll go down fighting before you ever get to call me a victim. And what that looks like is our community saying things may not be fair, but we're going to do everything in our power to turn it to our advantage so that we're creating jobs, that we're getting people employment opportunities, that our kids are getting first-rate education. And what we have to do as a community to get there, we'll do it. What we need to do by getting others resources, by pulling other resources, we'll do that as well, right? So I think if you're looking, because I know that a ton of people get frustrated by the story of minorities being victims, right?
Right.
Well, I'm the person that says we're not going to allow ourselves to be victims, and we're going to find a way to turn things to our advantage and create the wealth and the schools and everything we need,
right,
to live the lives that we want to live.
Perfect, man. No, that's good stuff, man. Yeah, you seem like a fighter, man, an intellectual fighter, which is a great thing too. You look like you got that covered, Hollis, on both ends, man. So that's really good to hear. And what I'm going to do is, when this show is done, I'm going to post your information, how people can donate to the cause. Even though you don't live, maybe you might not live in Brooklyn Park as well, but I'm going to post that as well. We're going to definitely do that. So Hollis, what is your first line of business once you're elected mayor of Brooklyn Park?
Yeah, so Brooklyn Park is kind of an older, I don't know if it's older, but it's a different type of structure, governmental structure than maybe what you're used to, like in New York or Chicago, even in St. Paul. In terms of my vote is equal to the other 6 members on the city council. I speak for the city, but we have an East, Central, and West district, and so they've got 2 representatives each, right?
Okay.
So my vote is equal to their vote. So I still need 3 other votes to get anything done, right? So I think my first order of business is to kind of find out where everybody else stands on the issues, find where we can work together on things, and to build a coalition to address some of these bigger issues that we're dealing with in Brooklyn Park, right? And not everyone's going to agree.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure that I can pull together 3 votes to address these larger issues. So the first thing is going to be sitting down with folks and beginning to build a governing coalition.
Okay. No, that's good. So you're gonna get together to the masses and just have that conversation, that dialogue to come together as one, correct?
Well, I think part of it is So part of it is talking to the other city councilors and saying, what is it you care about? What do your constituents care about? How do we build off of that? And then some of it's going to be just general public saying, well, let's have some town halls. Let's walk through some of these issues. And let's try to get some buy-in in terms of how we address that. I mean, we have a budget issue, right? We have an issue where we know that police have to be more diverse, and we know they have to be more community-oriented because, crime is going up. It's a city of 80,000, but we got shootings and stuff happening in Brooklyn Park, right? So we know those are issues that got to be addressed. So how do we sit down and get everybody on board to say, let's pull together and address these issues before they get out of hand.
Understood. And I see Pete says the more people who vote, the more it favors Hollis's campaign. So yeah, we definitely got to get out there to vote. Yeah, absolutely. That goes without any question. We've seen the power of the vote. We've seen that at firsthand. So imperative that you get out there and vote. You got to go out there and do that. Yep.
Well, that's the issue nationwide, right?
Yes.
Is that when you talk about so you talk about Illinois, New York, Cali, it's not a big deal if you're a Democrat. You're gonna win that. But if you talk about some of the I forget what they call them, not the border states, but you know, the states that helped decide the election, right? When you talk about those type of states, the reality is that fear is a great motivator, and so much of what motivates a lot of the current GOP, not all GOP, not all Republicans, but much of what motivates them is fear.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Fear of the other, fear of others taking their place, fear of people pushing them out of position, their status, fear of just immigrants or differences or others or whatever, not having influence, right?
Right.
Whereas if you're motivated by fear, then you're going to get out and vote. Because but what it is with Democrats, progressives, blue, people of color, people have to see a vision, right? You have to paint a vision and motivate people, because our people just aren't going to come out just because you try to scare them. You got to do more. You got to paint a positive vision of what's going to happen, how things can be better, what that looks like for them, what their place is. And I think as a party, I think as a country, we just need to do a better job of being more inclusive and helping people to understand. You got to come out and vote because this directly affects you, and you have a say, and you're part of the solution. And we don't do that very well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and like you say, the Democratic Party, you have to be a person of substance, and bring stuff to the table, and what you're doing here. So I applaud you for that, Hollis. And so Hollis, the question I have a couple more questions for you, and I appreciate you coming on today, man. I really do. Are you and your family equipped to handle the transition? Because you are on Transition Tuesdays, and this is going to be a transition when you become the mayor. So are you and your family, mentally, a whole nine, prepared to be the mayor of Brooklyn Park?
I've done a lot of thinking about that. I believe we are. My kids have grown up with politics. They understand it. My wife has been involved with me every step of the way. She's one of the reasons that we've been so successful is because of her.
Oh, that's great.
And so we've Barack has Michelle. I have Latrice.
There you go. I see those parallels. There we go, Hollis.
But I'm, I that's the only way I'm comparing myself to that brother, right?
Right.
But
Right.
even though I'm extremely proud of him, man, and I look up to him as a model. But I will say, part of also preparing is management, right? So I've had to, as I've run for office, as I've grown my business, I've had to learn how to manage different areas of my life. I've had to find, I've had to learn one of the first lessons of leadership, which is, getting the right people around you. I had to learn that the hard way. So I'm much better at it now, and I have people around me, right, that are supportive of what we're trying to do. And so once we make that tradition, there's people that are waiting to kind of help pick up the load, help with policy, help us make the right decisions. And I think that's how you do it right, because when you can't learn it all, you can't do it all yourself. You have to learn how to manage. You have to learn how to build a team. You have to learn how to lead. And so I think we're ready for those things. And mostly I'll put it to, we have the right folks supporting us.
Understood. Hey, so Mayor Winston, now I'm going to ask you this question. So how does Mayor Winston kick back? How does Mayor Winston relax? Does Mayor Winston listen to music? Does he like music? Does he like sports? Does he, how does the mayor of Brooklyn Park, how does he kick back? How does he relax? What does he do to relax? Or does he relax? I don't know.
I relax. For me, it's the gym. So the gym is really, I got to get in 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay.
And I like the weights. I don't do them as heavy because I don't think anybody wants to see a mayor that looks like he can body slam them. So I'm cut back on the heavy weights.
Okay.
But I do the, I like doing the weights, and I rest maybe 15, 30 seconds between sets to keep it moving.
What's on the mayor's playlist? I want to know what's on the mayor's playlist. Are you listening to music when you're working out?
I haven't been listening to a lot of the music lately. Like I'll listen if my wife plays something in the car. I'll listen.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of motivational
Okay.
Books, or like I'll listen to books that God, I'm forgetting. I don't have it. H.R. McMaster, so he was national security advisor. Like, I'll listen to that to kind of relax. I'll read books on strategy, or I'll just read. If I really got time, I'll sit back and read something like a sci-fi book or something like. I've always been a sci-fi nerd, man.
Okay.
And then the family. When I can, just watch a movie with the family. Like, we actually watched Cruella.
Okay.
Disney movie. We watched that Friday. So the mother-in-law's in town, so we all watched Cruella, got popcorn, and you know, they made brownies and all that. So we try to do that every Friday, and then every Saturday we try to, you know, spend some time together. You know, spend a little time with God, and
that's great.
You know, so all that combined kind of helps me just stay on task and refreshed and grounded.
Gotcha. Will you be that type of male, like go to functions? I know you're gonna be entrenched in the community. We know that as well. But like, will you be that type of man? Maybe go to like different functions, like sporting functions, or like you might see a Mayor Winston in a concerts when concerts start to kick back around. You know, coming up. Would I see Mayor Winston and, you know, maybe with his hat backwards? You know what I mean? Maybe watching a game or going to a concert. Will you be that type of mayor there, Winston? Coach, I mean,
yeah, you know, the head backwards, you know, that's a little more East Coast thing, man.
Right. That's true. You're right.
Off to the side a little bit.
There you go. Yes.
But I wear it. Yeah, I wear the hats now, especially since my daughter talked about my hair thinning, man. So I do wear the baseball caps. But yeah, I like going to the events and just chopping it up with people and mixing it up.
That's great.
You know, seeing what's going on with them. So I'll do that. I mean, that's a key part to staying involved.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay. Nice. So, Hollis, are there any upcoming like debates on the horizon for you before we do the vote and everything like that? Anything like, has there been any debates or, you know, like your opponents?
There was a few debates last time, and I feel like, you know, we did well with them because the team helps prepare me. Then we have one coming up July 15th, and I've been working to get, you know, so in the past, the main one that everyone kind of goes to is thrown by a group called the League of Women Voters. Okay. And in Minnesota, well, in Brooklyn Park, they haven't always been that diverse. I think they're working on that, but we're trying to get them to, and I think they're reaching out now, but we've connected them with some you know, African American, African heritage media, and then some Hmong media, some Southeast Asian media that they can have, because I want them to just come up with the questions with this diverse group, and then I want them to have kind of the, you know, CNN style thing where 3 or 4 people from different communities are asking the questions, right? So So we've had it. I think that's going to be July 15th. I'm excited if they work that out, because that will be a completely different look for Brooklyn Park, and it'll also get that debate out to not just, you know, usual suspects. It'll get it out across Brooklyn Park to all the different communities, so they tune in.
Gotcha. How many candidates are left standing right now besides yourself? Are there many candidates?
Just the one. Just one. So the way it works is because it's nonpartisan, meaning, you know, they don't put your party on there. It's a jungle primary. So basically, 7 people were running, and then the top 2 get through, and then they go to the general election. So April 13th, we had the primary, jungle primary. I was the top vote getter. Then the other person came in second.
Wow, so you were the top dog. Okay, Mayor, I hear you. Go ahead.
And then August 10th, we have the general election.
Okay.
And and so we feel good about that, but we're still grinding. You know, we're still having conversations, talking to people, and you know, fundraising and doing everything we can to get folks invited and excited. So
and hit those target dollars for those donations as well.
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, Hollis, I'm gonna leave you with this. I'll get you out on this last question here for you, man. Do you have any final words you'd like to leave the Transition Army with? The floor is yours.
Yeah, so I would just say, you know, folks listening, I know that folks get caught up in the presidential and the state senate, and, you know, and all those. I mean, in the state, in the Senate and House rep races, as well as the state races. But I would also say, even if you're not in a big city like Brooklyn Park, or like New York or Chicago, or LA, whatever, I would still say, get involved at the local level, because that's where a lot of these decisions that are affecting your life, police, or you want to start a club in your suburb of 120,000, but they zoned against it, right? Or you want to start a certain type of business and they're making it difficult for you to do that, or you can't get the resources. A lot of that happens at that local level. So get involved, because you should be in control of where you live. And when you get in control of where you live, right, you get to build the life you want to live for your family and your friends and everybody you care about. So don't just think national level. Also think at that local level where you can get involved, and that's also another way for you to create and groom candidates that you want to see go to the next level. So you may have a friend who is super sharp and super smart. Help them run for city council. From city council, they can go to state senate or state house. And from there, they can maybe run for Congress one day, right? Or more. So I just get involved at that level. And then lastly, I just want to shout out, to my website is www.hollieswinston.org. So
there you go.
www.hollieswinston.org.
Yes, to learn more about the future, the future mayor, because that's coming. The future mayor of Brooklyn Park. Hey, Hollis, I appreciate you coming on, my man. We're gonna continue to bang the drum for you, man. I'm gonna post, ways people can donate. I'm gonna post the link on there when we're done here today. And man, I appreciate it. I'm talking to royalty now in advance, because this is a preordained thing. You got this in the bag. It's all set. But we got work to do. But we got this. We got this, Hollis.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
No problem. No problem.
Difference, so thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. So keep us posted. Again, we'll keep drumming that, hitting that drum for you, my man. Appreciate you coming on, sir.
Thank you. All right. Have a good one.
All right. Take care now. Okay. Bye-bye. All right. My guy, Hollies Winston, who will be the future mayor of Brooklyn Park. He made some great points, and and I had to jot it down. Decisions are made at the local levels, so you got to take care of business in the local levels before the primaries and the big elections. But the local level, that's where decisions are made. For the people. That's when decisions are made. So yeah. Just go out there, support my man Hollis. Again, when we're done, I'm gonna post how you can donate, even though if you don't live there in Brooklyn Park, like I don't live there, but we're gonna bang the drum for my man Hollis Winston. We're gonna definitely do that. And Peter, thank you, man, so much for arranging this interview as well, too, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, appreciate it, man. So yeah, good stuff. As we transition, that's what we do here on Transition Tuesdays. We transition to different topics, that affecting us. And I want to really discuss a quick topic was fan behavior in the NBA. Are you guys watching these playoffs? These playoffs have been pretty good, but the fans' behavior has been coming into question here. I mean, you got a couple incidents. You had the popcorn incident in Philadelphia on Russell Westbrook's head. Okay, that's one incident. Then you had the spitting at the Garden on Trae Young, and it was crazy when they had the still picture of it. The guy spits, and he's spitting, and it seems like 50 Cent's girlfriend got the remnants, got the stuff on her, and it's crazy too because I know if 50 Cent would have knew what was going down, he probably would have reached out and put some pause on that guy. But, that guy's lucky on that one. But you got that incident. You got the incident of John Moran in Utah, in which, his dad had to come to his aid saying, NBA needs to do something about this because obviously the players can't hit him, hit these fans, these unruly fans. But, maybe he can't, so just something to look at. And then you had the Boston Celtics, that fan throwing a bottle at Kyrie Irving. And I want to talk I really, really want to stay on this particular one, because, man, I tell you, when that fan was unruly in Boston, the thing that really got me, first of all, they handled it correctly, meaning like they trying to set a precedent here as a deterrent. Like, we're going to have this guy in handcuffs let out of here. You can't do this. But the thing that really struck me, and if you see the videos on it, and it reeked of white privilege. So I'm just gonna keep it real with you guys. It kept with white privilege because that one fan in Boston who threw the bottle before he got arrested. You got this guy. He's trying to take a selfie of himself. Right? He's trying to take a selfie, and he's about to do that. The police try to take over his phone, and he's like, no, what you doing? You can't take my phone. This is my moment. And they allowed him to do that. That just reeked of white privilege. I mean, that was just crazy then to see that. So, there's a major issue here. What's going on in the NBA with these fans? These fans need to. I know we've been cooped up for a year. You know what I mean? And we allow the fans to come back in. You're behaving in such a way, but I'm sure. Commissioner Silver's going to take care of this, and this done. But it just boggles the mind. This is really crazy what's going on here. So hopefully, the NBA will get a hold on that. But yeah, that incident in Boston really rubbed me the wrong way, man. I just reeked of something bad. And and I'm going to keep it real with you guys. These incidents are occurring. These are like white males on like black athletes. I mean, what is the deal? Like, what are these people's mindset? What are they thinking about? Are they jealous of these black athletes? Or I don't understand the mindset. They're doing what they're doing. I don't know. That's not for me to know. I'm not a psychologist or what have you, but it just really seems weird to, that it's coming down, and, and it's going to come down in a sport like the NBA because, the fans are that close to the players. The players don't have helmets like they do in the NFL. So it's more, intimate, setting. So that causes maybe fans to act the way in which they are. So I'm not chalking it up to no COVID, being off for a year and they just bugging out and buck wilding. But, something has to be done, and let's hope something's done because we don't want another malice in the palace. We saw what happened with that with Ron Artest, and the whole crew and the fans there. So, we don't want that. I'm sure the players don't want to revisit that. And again, the players always keep a cooler mind. They know they can't go off and haul off and punching players, lawsuits. Punching fans, lawsuits would occur. So we don't want that. So the NBA, they're going to get a hold of that. I got the utmost confidence in Adam Silver to take care of that. So that's going to be a done deal. But it just boggles the mind why people do what they do. I don't get it. I have no idea. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we were able to make you laugh, smile, or think during this broadcast, my good friends, you have accomplished something major today. So celebrate your victory. Celebrate your victory today. Big or small, celebrate. Take the time to celebrate. Okay? Theme song. Right here on Transition Tuesdays. Hey, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you watching Transition Tuesdays each and every Tuesday. And if you missed this show and other shows like it, you can go to our YouTube channel, Transition Tuesdays. And when you're on the channel, please like it and subscribe there as well. Okay, you can also follow me on Instagram, or as the young kids say, IG. You can follow me on the gram, okay, at R World Transitions. That's R World Transitions with an S. You can follow me there. And I want to give a super duper big time thank you shout out to Brooklyn Park mayoral candidate Hollies Winston. Okay, I'm already proclaiming it. He's going to be the new mayor there. He's going to be changing. He's going to be mixing up. He's there for the people. You guys heard him there. So shout out to you, Hollies, for coming on the show. Appreciate you coming on, man. And also, again, I'm teasing a little bit for you guys, but hey, the book, okay, Stuck on Stupid, 3 Words of Redemption, coming to you soon. Look out for that, okay? A little tease here. We're gonna be talking about that in upcoming shows, okay? Don't you think we're not? We're gonna definitely do that by yours truly, Russ Williams, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, Transition Army, as we say in party, happy transitioning, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care, everybody. God bless.